It is 12:30. I haven't slept since yesterday, but I'm gonna make a cosplay today. I'm a bit loopy, it's because I haven't slept, but basically I realized that this video will be coming out on May 4th. I keep going to say July. It's coming out on May 4th, which is Star Wars Day. And so I was like, well shit, I should do something Star Wars Day. So I'm actually moving forwards a costume that I was gonna do for October, but I'm now doing it for May, so I can film it now, which is my Jedi costume. And by Jedi, I mean Sith. I am so tired, but I have work to do. You can obviously tell by like all the mugs and chocolate and plates on my desk that I've been up for a while, but I've already gone out and bought more milk. So we ready. I'm actually really excited for this costume, and I'll tell you why. One of the reasons I'm really excited about this costume is firstly, it's an original design, which I love doing. This was a bitch to design because I was like, oh, it's gotta have layering. It's gotta have shitloads of layering and da-da-da-da. It's really hard to draw layering, but I will put up a proper image of this. This is my design. It's got like armor bits, lots of loops and stuff. I basically designed this before I looked at all the materials I had because I wanted this to be a cosplay that I didn't buy anything for. I'm really happy because I think I have everything I need for this costume thing. I've got a stockpile of fabric that I have not used yet. I am like a serial cannibalizer of crap. If I see like a bag someone's throwing out and it's got good bits on it, then I will take it apart and steal all the buckles and the fastenings, because that shit's expensive to buy on its own. Now this is stuff from a handbag I had. So that's the handle, end of the bag straps, that's the buckle. It's a very cool buckle, so I kept that. It's also a very satisfying buckle, because it makes a really nice like noise. Oh. And then sort of I kept the strap. I'm pretty sure I can use almost all of this in my design. Like I'm gonna use these two pieces on the front, and instead of having this leather strap, that'll be where the sort of decorative sash hangs off, so I've got one for the front and the back. I'm gonna use this on the front for part of this like weird harness thing I've got going on because BDSM. I went through my big fabric stores, which is this big box under here, and also that box and that box. And what I found is this stuff, which was supposed to be fake denim, which it obviously doesn't look like that at all. It's this really interesting sort of texturized black, but also very interesting texturized silver. It is super drapey, and I have about 4 meters of it. So I think that's going to be the sort of wrappy sash bit. I also found really nice tailoring fabric, which I might use for sort of texture. This sort of white cotton, which I can dye if I want to do something rough. I found some fake, well, stretch leather. I've got this awesome black neoprene jersey, and I found these 2 giant pieces of leather. Like this is a very thin leather, and this is a really nice sort of thick leather. I don't know if I'll use them. I might use them for little details because I have some ideas for what I want to do with those. Oh yeah, I also found sort of this, which I might be able to dye. That's an option. I know roughly what kind of makeup I want to do. I want to really use and take advantage of being bald. I was thinking of maybe having some like horns or whatever, but that's all superfluous. What is the detail is that I've got to try and make this costume as quickly as possible. I really should have started like 6 hours ago because I was awake 6 hours ago. I was also awake like 12 hours before that. So I look like shit. That's today's project. I've actually just dug out this incredibly wrinkled Electra cosplay that I did way back. And this was something I put together in one night. And these 2 rings were from a pair of shoes that I used for Yang. Part of editing the shoes to make Yang involved me cutting bits off them, and they had these little like fake spurs on. So this is going to be the 3rd part of a costume that this ring has gone through. I'm gonna use this, as I went through like several ideas, I like the idea of layering, and this I thought would add like a nice tiny bit of detail. I want to go sand it and probably paint it black to fit in with all this stuff, but I'm gonna work on the lowest layer, which is the sort of wrap layer, which will go under all of the armor and everything. Largely because I think it's nice to have a layer between sort of foam and leather and everything, and this is a really nice fabric. I think it's a sports fabric, so it should take a lot of heat away from the body, because this will be in May. And this is not the fabric I'm using. The fabric I'm using is incredibly long. But just to show you what the plan is, I wanted to have it sort of like look very interesting, like a wrap thing, but I thought this would be a far cooler way to do it. It would also let me sort of pull it on and adjust it and have it like this, because it's supposed to sort of go like that underneath the costume, and then it'll get to the waist and it'll cross over, but this adds like a cool layer of detail. Oh yeah, so that's a really interesting way to have the neck, because then that can go like this, over the tits, keep that nice and clean. I'll probably be able to wear a bra and then disguise it using this, which will be nice. I love layering costumes because you can hide so many sins. Yeah, I can either put something decorative here over it, or just make the ring more apparent, but this should ideally peek up over a level of armor. I don't know, it's nice, I think, in costumes to be able to see where all the layers go, and to sort of, in your head, be like, oh, okay, so this is really a costume made in layers. I could very easily make this costume one piece and then just have a zip, but I like layers. I also, whilst designing it, had to change a few things because I had a moment of clarity where I went, how will I pee? And then was like, cool, this is turning into trousers. So now it's going to be just cutting and really roughly making the undergarment. So my camera ran out of juice, but really all you've missed is me adding my buttons and attaching the first sash. I just loosely tacked this. What we're going to do for the start anyways is ruching, because that's a really easy way to make like a lovely draped sash. And I've put my sewing machine on big stitch width, big stitch length, and I've just got it in like a straight tack, and I'm not going to do the little, I'm not going to lock the thread in at the start, I'm just going to go straight down. So if you're wondering why I don't sort of talk through most of my videos, one, it's so that these can be time-lapsed for Nick, my editor's sake, but also because I like to listen to the Adventure Zone while I work, and that's basically how I get myself into the spirit of working, is I reward myself while I work. So I can only eat chocolate when I'm working, and I can only listen to the Adventure Zone when I'm working. And this makes me really sort of keen to work, but unfortunately it makes it very difficult for me to record whilst also listening to the Adventure Zone. So I'm not doing the sort of back tapping at the start or the finish. You'll see why if you have never ruched before. You will leave these long little tails, and it's already started doing it here, but you can just hold onto one of it, because you'll have two threads on either end, which is the top thread and the bottom thread. And you just need to take one, hold it in place, and then you can just pull it together. It'll concertina up nice and neat. And this is how people make rosettes and all that shit, but we're just using it to make a nice ruche skirt, because it also means that you can get really nice even sort of pleats, and you can adjust the width as needed. And I want this to be about the same width as my front one. Alright, so that is actually pretty much the exact length I want. And so to lock that in, I'm just gonna tie the little end tails together I really don't like using Velcro if it's possible, so I'm trying to avoid using it on this. And I'd probably do like another button or something, but let's just get this nice and even. I should really do this while I'm wearing it actually, because I want it to all match up properly. And you can see how messy it is. But fuck it, this bit is going to be under my costume. So, whereas normally I'd be very panicky about this, this is a real last minute costume. I'm actually making this like 3 weeks before the convention, which is like 2 weeks earlier than I normally make my convention outfits. Okay, so that's hanging there. And now we're just gonna line it up on the front as well. Yeah, that works. I'm gonna tuck that under. And for this one, I'm just gonna mark where it lands with a pin, because I need to have one side free to actually take it off. What I have here is a trouser bar. So you have this like weird little sort of scoop thing, and then the bar clicks in together like that. Really neat. And that's what you normally have on like trousers and skirts. So that to me is a smart way to attach this. I'm slightly worried about like stretching it and making it break, which would be unfortunate. So here's my clever idea. Keep this pin as a mark, and I'm going to turn this over and stitch it on another piece of boning, because why the fuck not? This is my accessories box. At my haberdashery, which is, you know, a place that sells like thread, sells like bits and bobs for sewing, they often have bags of ends, so it's just random spare shit. And they stick it all in a bag, and then you can buy a bag for like £1. And so that's how I have that random box full of stuff, is just from constantly buying them. Because you can get little bits of elastic, and normally you have to buy, you know, half a meter or a meter, and sometimes you just want a tiny bit. So it's always worth having. So what I'm gonna do is, and I'm gonna stitch it to this elastic, and this way, if I like flex, it's not gonna make this pop or rip or anything. It's just going to sort of stretch it a little bit. It'll also give the bar something good to grip onto, something stable. And I'm gonna use a zigzag stitch because this is stretchy. Actually, this is the length it needs to be. I have a better idea. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna lock it in place with my stitch. Like so. I'm gonna show you the wonders of stitching. So pull that up, put that there, and what you want to do is stretch this to meet this end. So we're gonna put that in there to keep it in place. So that's half, that's half. I'm kind of holding the elastic in place and letting the sewing machine ruche the underside up. This is absolutely not how you should do anything, so just ignore what I'm doing right now. This is how you snap needles. But hey, it's ruched anyways. And it's elastic ruched. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach one side of this to here, which will be this side. Okay, so that's got to go there. Yeah, fuck it, that's close enough. And I think I'm actually just going to freehand stitch this. And we're going to cut to a time lapse so I can listen to a little bit more Adventure Zone. I'm going to use some of this boning I have. And by some, I mean I accidentally bought about 200 meters. This is very tightly rolled and I'm worried it'll explode the second I undo it, so we're going to try and be careful with this. I don't want this to sort of like end up collapsing as I move around, so I'm going to use some of this really soft poly boning, which is... You can use it to make crinolines and stuff. It's super lightweight, but it's rigid. I'm going to use some of this to just make this like, just to add some reinforcement to it. due to unforeseen circumstances, but this is how my costumes normally go, I have like a general fuck up. I've had to put buttons on the back. I wanted it to go over my head, but some of the boning got attached to the fabric and I'm too lazy to go back and undo it. So I'm attaching buttons so I can just button it behind me. But this is a great time as any to do a quick informative tutorial on how to do buttons good. Essentially the trick with doing buttons is, well, this is only a 2-hole button, but what you're gonna do is go 1, 2, you just wanna do a couple of like loops through. There isn't like a great number to it, like just, you know, couple of loops through, and then you're going to go around it a little bit. I always like to tie a knot because I think that works better. A couple of knots are like under the button, around the sort of strings that you've put in between your button and the fabric. You want to do that like 3 times or something. Then if you have sort of like, if it's a 4-hole button, then you go the other way through the 2 holes you haven't done, and then go around those at the base. I want this to be secure, so I'm just going to do another couple of stitches through the button, go around it one more time, just because there's going to be a lot of tension on this. Once you've like ready to finish and you've sort of wrapped around your threads again, just pull your needle through underneath the button, and then you can do a knot on the back. Nice and like real fucking secure as well. So I'll be able to button this shit up behind me. Yay! It is not neat at all. So I'm moving on to the next part of my costume, which is layer-wise, the black leather sort of tabard that goes over that lower layer of sort of drapey shit. And to do that, I've actually got this marching band tabard that I own, because of course I do. And I'm just going to use this as a pattern. Like I've sort of pinned here, because that's where the neckline needs to come to, but this is pretty perfect in terms of like shape. I want to take it in a little bit, so probably along that seam line. Well, the armor layer is going to be attached over this, and you know, it's my mid layer between armor and soft drapey fabric. So I'm going to trace out the pattern and then decide if I'm going to cut this out of leather or if I'm going to use something else. You might recognize this from my Mercy cosplay build. Nipple is still intact. Yep. I need to make some boob armor. I don't want it to be as like defined as this shit, but that shouldn't be a problem. I'm just gonna stretch some foam over the chest to get a decent shape, and I'll probably trim it down to the size that I need. I'm not gonna decide what material I want to make this out of until I know how it looks with the armor, because if I can break it up into small pieces, I don't really want to make a giant piece of leather on that. So this is one of my stupid secret little things that I love. This is so fucking dumb. This is a colander for straining pasta that is the perfect shape for molding boobs. And now that I have a rough idea where the titties should go, it is time to start molding.